guys wear the power suits.
Planning department?
Power suits.
Both came straight from work.
All right, today's the Wednesday, December 7th meeting of the Economic Development Council. Al DeRusso, the chairman, is unable to be here, and in Steve Langley's absence, I'll run things. And I'll just ask that everybody introduce themselves, starting with Charlie.
Charlie Tentis.
Andrew Catterett?
Steve Dutton.
Derek Horn.
Marie Boyle.
Steve Fournier.
The first item on our agenda are the minutes from the November 2nd meeting. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review those. I do have some paper copies. We could take that up at the end of the meeting if need be. Or next. Anyone else?
November.
I'll make a motion to approve. I didn't have any issues.
I'll second. Any comments or changes? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Abstaining.
Okay.
The first business on the agenda is the EDC newsletter. It's been, in January, it'll be 3 months since the last quarterly newsletter has gone out. I've talked with Robbie Grady in Main Street. She is working on an article. Al is working on another chairman's message. We'll also be working with the Lions Club to get an article in there about the Business Expo in March. But I didn't know if anyone else had any ideas for
I want to work on this as for a newsletter.
the resource.
Right, the resources.
Yep. Okay.
So I've got the links, I just gotta figure out some text for it. And, I'd like to, maybe I should contact Gary Chabot to have him review it, but, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Great.
And so the deadline on that is when? January what?
I'd like to send it out the second week of January. So if we could have it for review at our January, I believe it's the January 4th meeting.
So the next meeting,
Yeah, the next meeting, that'd be great.
okay?
And if anyone else has any ideas between now and the end of the year, you can just let me know. At the last meeting, we had Gary Chabot from the Division of Economic Development come in, and one of the items he did talk about was economic revitalization zones. And amongst some of the members, there was a little bit of interest. So tonight I've got for you it's got a map showing the 4 ERZ designated parks that we have in Goffstown. There's the Benchmark Industrial Park and Gentle Slopes at the intersection of 114 and St. A's. There's Pondview Industrial Park, where the radio towers are on Goffstown Back Road. And then Tatro Drive Industrial Park, where the Shell Station and the Langley office complex is. So those what we have currently. And the process to go about applying to the state would be a recommendation from, it could come from staff, but if you're interested, I would say come from the Economic Development Council to the Board of Selectmen to designate certain parcels or certain tracts as ERZ zones. And you have on the first page of the ERZ frequently asked questions, it's got how your zones are defined. Under A, we do not currently have any other brownfield zones identified at this time. So it'd have to come under B, and most likely it'd be item 4, an unused or unutilized industrial park or vacant land or structures previously used for industrial, commercial, or retail. Those would really be the 2 that we would bring forward. And I didn't know if anyone had any ideas for sites. I think at last meetings, one of the members, I don't remember who, had suggested maybe talking to Mr. Janigan about having the mill.
I was probably me.
Okay.
So the specific ERZ zones now are the ones that you have circled here,
Yes.
okay? So there's nothing in the village.
There is nothing in the village. And there may be some potential sites for.
Would this be an easy thing to throw in the newsletter too?
At least a link to it. Yeah,
I mean, because this is good, ERZ zone facts. What does an ERZ zone stand for? Why are ERZ zones established?
Yep.
How is an ERZ zone defined? And then you could even link to the image so that people know where they are.
absolutely.
It's a good idea.
Yep.
I mean, it's all right here, ready to go.
Brian, we're just looking for a little bit of feedback. Last week, or last month, we had talked about ERZ zones, and this is just to see if we are gonna go forward and submit an application to the state. If there's, we've talked about, Andy had suggested the mill at the last meeting, but if there's any other sites that may benefit from that.
I think Steve would be a good resource in this. Or recognizing other ERZs in this area?
Well, I think was already involved in the original input that created these zones, so I'm not sure. I think the Janigan site is a good potential site. I don't know how interested he is in it. But I'm going to assume he may have been approached the last time.
My guess would be he may not have been because of the state of that property at that time. He may have not been able to move forward with it, because that was in 2009, and my understanding he had a purchase and sales, or he had a contract on the property at that time that may have been, so I'm willing to approach him again and see if this is something he'd be interested in.
How about any of the vacant land back here, or empty buildings in this area?
Londos?
Yeah, it'd be blonde.
I mean, that's,
Stuff, sure.
because once it's designated, it doesn't take away value or anything. I mean,
It doesn't take away value, and all it is it's an opportunity for business that comes in to get a
Gives them more
credit against their
flexibility.
business taxes to the state. So it actually makes it more marketable.
Yeah, I would think so. So any of those properties that are here that are underutilized or
You do know about
vacant,
that,
or,
I didn't see that.
now would a business person come to us if they had a property? Is that usually how it is, or do we go out and ask them if they want it to be designated?
The application has to be submitted to the state by the town.
Yeah, but how's it initiated typically?
In the past, I believe it was initiated by the previous Economic Development Quarter and the Economic Development
So
Council.
for us suggesting the
Yeah.
properties, it's not usually, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think if a property owner came forward with that question, it'd be well to at least consider it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're just looking at characteristic A though, correct? There's not, we don't have anything that applies to characteristic B on these, correct? That I know of.
No, actually, we don't have anything that,
We don't, nothing in A.
we have nothing in A at this point.
We don't have, oh, because we're using the word abandon, I mean, is that,
We're on,
The mill will qualify, wouldn't it?
that's what,
Under-
though it's not
unused,
abandoned, but
underutilized.
it's.
Pretty close.
Or underutilized, I mean,
Yeah.
oh, under B, number 4.
And there's
Would that
gotta be
be
loads of dirty
B4?
dirt that
Yeah.
used to be a tanner,
B4,
didn't
wouldn't
it?
But has to be specified as a brownfield.
Yeah, it's not
Whether
specified at
abandoned
this
or
time as a brownfield.
It is not, okay, so where we're looking at is B4, and that's it, is that my understanding then?
Yes.
Okay.
I know Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission has submitted another application for another round of brownfield assessments. If they were to get those funds, then, and a certain property went through that assessment process and was identified as a brownfield, then we could do that. But right now, the only brownfields are Gentle Slopes and Benchmark, and those two have been designated already.
Is that because the EDC or the town asked them to be designated as brownfield? Like, is that how it starts, or does the owner approach the state and say they want it?
In those cases, it was a partnership between the Goffstown Industrial Corp., the EDC, and the property owners to go have those site assessments done and go through that process with Southern New Hampshire Planning.
I'm just trying to get some clarification, I apologize. So when you talk about the gentle slopes area, you're saying that may be, in other words, it's not qualified as a brownfield right now, correct?
No, that is a brownfield.
That is a brownfield, and that's because of environmental contamination is what they're concerned about?
'Cause
Yes.
it exists, right?
It
Oh,
exists.
it exists there.
That's how they get qualified as a brownfield, if I understand that.
Correct.
And this was done when, then? I'm just trying to get.
The assessments?
Yeah.
The assessments have been done in the last 3 years.
Done in the last 3 years, and that's just gentle slope and benchmark.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
the gentle slopes is, it's located right next to, the auto salvage yard.
Keywords?
Yep.
Okay, now I
Next to?
understand.
Yes,
Like,
the,
it's that kind of foresty land to the left of it when you're heading towards Bedford? Like
Yes.
on the Bedford
But
side?
Gentle Slopes actually owns a piece right along 114 that is directly adjacent to the salvage yard.
Okay.
I think that's.
it goes all the way to Shirley Hill Road.
Right to the traffic.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. It's that, on your map, it's that light blue piece.
Where's there an industrial park over there? I don't think I've ever noticed it.
There's only one building, that's McClellan,
Bedford Road.
and you actually can't get to it from Goffstown.
Okay.
It's a road out of Bedford that they access it.
So you have to access off of New Boston Road.
Right here.
Correct.
Okay.
So the junkyard doesn't own up to 114.
Okay.
That's where their contamination is.
Is that downstream from the auto yard?
I'd say it's.
It's down, but it's also got,
wet.
it is wet, and it's also got the MTBE, which I think defies gravity in some cases.
Caused by gasoline.
Yep.
So that's that small sliver, as I remember it, if you're talking in between 114 and the salvage yard.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, that's a very small sliver. Is this what we're talking about here?
Maybe a
When
driveway,
we're addressing
road.
benchmark, we're talking that?
Well, benchmark.
Well, they actually have,
It seems to get bigger as you come up, but
it is considered, yeah, it is.
it's bigger
larger.
once we get past the salvage,
Yes.
going towards Bedford.
And the thing that is deceiving about that, I believe there may be some of the structures on the salvage yard that are on the property line or close to it, so,
Or maybe over the line.
or for the line.
So what does this mean to us as the EDC? How can we be helpful? Like, what can we do to help this process?
It would be to identify sites, bring a recommendation forward to the Board of Selectmen, and then submit the application to the state. And once the state designates them, at that point, it would just be for somebody to come in and develop it and take advantage of the,
Okay. Okay.
and I guess the purpose was to kind of talk of.
It
these
just
are-
makes the property more marketable for a business. They can come in and get tax credits if they develop it. So why not apply for parcels we want to see developed?
Okay.
Question, when the state does do this, like these 4 sites that are designated already, does the State Economic Development Council individuals there, as they deal with companies that come in to look at the state, are these included, do these pop up, so to speak, as in other communities for
Yeah, they've got
companies to look at?
they have a list of all the ones statewide, and I know when I've gone up and met with Gary Chabot, who was here last month, and Michael Bergeron, who you may have read about in the paper, he goes down to Massachusetts to cherry pick
Yeah, I've met
businesses.
Michael. Yep.
These are the ones that he keeps on his radar, and when we sit down and talk, we talk about, okay, what sites do we have available? In the case when it's brownfields, they may qualify for other funding. And there are certain businesses out there that seek out brownfield sites and then pile on top of that ERZ designation.
So obviously, the more that we have that meet that designation, besides the tax relief, if someone does move forward with it, it gives us more exposure when the state individuals are out showcasing different
Sure.
opportunities with outside companies that may want to move to New Hampshire. That's good. Good.
Do you guys know about hub zones too? The historically underutilized business areas?
No.
There are things called hub zones where if you, I know that qualifying as a business, when you qualify as a hub zone business or you're located in a hub zone business, you get certain advantages as far as bidding on federal jobs and things like Gary was talking about last week. You know, when you're bidding on jobs that are on the it escapes me now, but you know, federal jobs and things like that. It's sort of along the lines of being a women disadvantaged owned veteran owned business. It's in that ballpark. I think something like the mill might qualify as a hub zone property, and that therefore would make it more marketable, since that's what we're talking about. They're usually in denser packed urban areas, but that's a loose terminology, you know what I mean? It's something you gotta qualify for, so that might be a possibility too. I figured I'd bring it up since it's germane to what we're talking about. It's called Hub Zone, and you get certain, you know, advantages. Like I
So
said.
it's a federal program then?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a federal program, and I'm sure Gary knows quite a lot about that. It's a nice advantage when you're bidding on, you know, Department of Defense projects and government projects, because there's a certain level of fairness, you know, sort of level field they want to have, and they give certain advantages to a variety of different businesses that are different, you know. It's called Hub Zone, yeah, and Manchester has quite a few of them. The entire mill yard is Hub Zone. Up in Massabesic is Hub Zone. I remember because one time when I was shopping for a place to put my old business, I tried to get into a Hub Zone area because I was at the time trying to qualify for some federal jobs. So, you know, savvy business owners look for that sort of thing. It might just, if you're talking about applying for these things, it might be just as easy to throw that on top.
At the
You
same
know,
time.
like Andy said, pile on top. I think that's a nice thing. You know, why not prime the pump? Hub Zone, HUB,
All right, yeah, I can look into that.
historically underutilized business zones.
You know, going back to this, when we're talking about the tax credit, can you give me an example of what that tax, do we have an idea or examples of some of these tax credits and other situations that,
Yeah, I mean, and I can send you the link to all this, but it's
trying to get an idea, that's,
it's based on, you have to create jobs and you have to meet where it talks about in the upper right, create a new facility,
No.
spend a certain amount. But what you can get basically is there's a pool every year. The state has a pool of $850,000. People submit their application for that, and then they can get up to $40,000 off. And there's a formula. If the jobs that they are creating they have to be above minimum wage, and for every, 1.5 times above minimum wage, there's a percentage of your expenditure.
and I realize I'm asking a
Yeah.
very difficult question. I mean, not difficult, but I mean, hard to explain, but I
Yeah.
mean, when you were in, obviously you must have discussion, was there an idea of what, and I understand it's gonna depend upon the business, upon these different pieces, but what have they seen historically, or what, in other words, if someone was to come and apply and look at this, how would they understand it? In other words, through all the work, what is going to be the end result roughly?
The end result is gonna be, for most of these sites are vacant. So provided they meet the salary, the minimum salary bumps, they're going to be creating jobs, and they're gonna get close to the max. I mean, they're gonna be getting close to that $40,000
For 5 years?
for up to 5 years, and
So
there's a
for the
carryover.
next 5 years, I get to reduce my tax liability
By 40,000.
by 40,000 grand.
Anybody taken advantage of it yet in town?
No. No.
Have people applied?
Again, it's an application through the state. When we did get certified, we notified all the property owners to help them market it, and maybe it's time for a reminder to them that, that this is available to them, but.
They can do it for up to 5 years, is that what you said?
Yeah, once you have to do it, the way I understand it is you do it before you actually do when you're doing the project, and you sign an agreement with the state.
Oh, I see.
And it's basically, how many jobs you're gonna create, and then every year you have to report to them to make sure you're holding up your end of the agreement, and then you go into that pool. And it's for 5 tax periods after you.
Oh, I see.
I guess my take is it's consensus to at least move forward and talk to a couple of property owners down here in the
It's
village.
not, yeah, I
Most
would
definitely.
think, it's not gonna cost us anything to investigate it.
Okay. All right, then, hopefully I'll bring something back, maybe not for the January meeting, but at least for the February meeting, so we can move forward with.
Yeah, if we can promote it, maybe the problem is people don't know about it, or they don't understand it, like, you know, so get it in the newsletter, talk about it on a YouTube video.
Sure.
All right. And I'll look into that hub, the hub zones.
Hubzone, sure.
Because the majority of Goffstown is actually an urban zone. It's once you get to the west of, I think, the post office is when we get into.
Is it historical, though? That's what you said, historical, underutilized business zone.
Historically.
Oh, historically.
Yeah,
Oh, historically.
Yeah, right.
Not historical.
Historically underutilized business zone. Yeah, they're trying to just bring up areas that historically are underutilized. Hysterical.
The next item is the Goffstown Lions Club has scheduled the 2012 Business Expo from Saturday, March 10th, and from 10 to 3 at the high school.
Cool.
And I guess I'm looking for some feedback on what level of involvement members want to be. In the past, we've had a booth and gone around and talked to businesses, but I know we've also talked about trying to get a booth for Division of Economic Development or potentially having some kind of informational session or seminar.
Definitely a booth. I think we definitely have to have a booth. I know we were there last year, and it was good watching over the booth, taking turns, walking around, talking to the businesses, getting their business cards, getting back to you to list them in the business directory, and I think it's a key. We need to be networking with these businesses, and it's a great opportunity at that location, and I think they need to see us there too. Most definitely.
Right, people need to know that we exist.
Exactly. That we
And
exist.
I think we did get some, people did not know we existed, and last year I think a lot of people came around and realized that, you know, we were there and
Right. They were,
could be.
they were surprised, but I think they were pleasantly surprised that we were even, not only in a booth waiting for them to come by, that we were going to their booths, reaching out to them. And I think that's a big plus. There are gonna be seminars too, did you say?
No, I didn't know if
If we
that.
wanna have-
I think I'd suggested getting like Gary.
Yeah, you'd have
something.
Gary to either. I mean, it's difficult because.
I don't know who the audience is. Is this businesses for the public to come in and meet, or is this business to business
Both,
type
I'd say.
expo?
It's really for the public to kind of come in and see, to them to show off their services and the goods they produce or the goods they
So they
sell.
might not want to leave booths to go see a presentation.
Yeah, it'd be difficult between that 10 to 3 and outside of that window. You've got people that may be open on a Saturday, so they've got to get back to their regular shop. So it's difficult, but, or maybe it's just getting Gary down here, or, you know, some of the other
Yeah, maybe use it more
resources.
as a data collection, like you said, to introduce ourselves, to create a network or a partnership.
Could we possibly put together some type of a packet to give them too?
Yeah,
Only because, as a vendor, I'm busy selling my wares in my business versus being focused on speaking with us. I mean, even if we can get a business card, a contact person's name, that we can verify are in the business directory. If they're not, we can get them entered. But also some type of a leave-behind packet that tells them more about what we can do, what we do, and what we can do to help them in their business. Maybe something like that.
okay.
Well, that's pretty good. What about if we all pitched in $20 and bought an iPod and raffled it off? And then everybody that filled out one of our forms has to fill out an email address on the form too. Everybody that fills out a ticket, and then we send them the stuff, because the stuff you were just describing, the information about us, is basically the content of the material that that we're sending out in the newsletter. So instead, I know I'm not going to be able to put together a packet in the next couple months about what we do and stuff like that. However, I think that the newsletter speaks to that pretty clearly. And the more people we get, I mean, that way we can include, the people who walk through the door. You know what I mean? If we all go around and say, hey, did you put your name in for the iPod, the iPod raffle, then we can create another database, or more people in our database to get the word out about our newsletter. and then we won't have to work as hard and it'll sound more fun. What do you think of that? You know what I mean? I mean, the packet sounds great. It really sounds great. However, it sounds like work, you know? Whereas if we just sent them the information on the newsletter, that's a good start.
How many people attended? Do they have any idea of what the attendance was last year?
Oh, God.
You have an idea, Marie?
I'm trying to remember.
I was there. I mean, there was quite a few people coming in
Yeah,
and
it
out.
was. I think 850, something like that,
I mean, that's not bad.
which was good.
That's great.
And there were almost all the business, I think, they sell out all the booths last year?
Yes, they did.
You know, you're talking about a Saturday morning in March. I mean, kids are, sports, people are busy. But
Yeah.
if they get that many people to come in and.
That's a good
and-
turnout.
That's a good turnout. But that's another idea, is if we made these packets to hand out to some people coming in too.
Sure.
Well, we definitely have to have some information about us.
Yeah,
A packet or a flyer or something.
but I think for the business end of it, as we walk around and talk with them, and I can remember last year, you have a pretty short window as they're waiting on customers, that it was pretty much getting their business card, telling them who we are, if you can stop by the booth, let's get us in the get you in the business directory. And they're like, what does it cost? That was the first, it's free. Oh, you're gonna be kidding me, here.
Right.
So now it's nice of here, and then we say here.
Right.
And maybe include, you know, some of these other things that we can link in, like we said on the website, the newsletter, and kind of give them a good flavor of who we are, what we do, and most importantly, what we think we can do for them in their business, and other people that they may know that may draw new business to us. Other businesses that may want to come to Goffstown, perhaps to some of these areas. I mean, if we need help putting these kits together, I'll help do that. And it doesn't have to be this big bag. It's just some good key information to them that they can look at when they leave and say, I need to contact these guys, I can use their help.
Yeah, if you're willing to work with me on a packet.
Sure.
Yeah.
It would be almost interesting, you know, if you have a raffle at this, if they had 850 people go through, you know, there may have been, 50 businesses there. That's who we're really targeting, is the businesses, not necessarily the other 700 people. So you could actually target the raffle to, you fill out this form to get on our, you know, on the business directory, or update your information, and then you're entered into a raffle as a business, maybe?
Sure. I think
I mean, the
that's-
public's good to have, but we're really trying to target the businesses.
Definitely, but yes, and the people are the businesses. The people are the future businesses. You know what I mean? Like, the people walking through the door that are gonna show up to a business expo are either gonna be relatives of the people who are there, or people who are considering, you know, people who are just business-minded. And, you know, maybe even have a house business or something in their, you know, they make, you know, make dolls in their basement or something like that. They're gonna be business-minded people. And it's just, philosophically for me, I don't really see businesses, I just see teams of people trying to do something, you know what I mean? And more access that people have to the resources, the more access that the people in our town have to the resources that we can show them, the more business is gonna, you know, because the conversation is,
Awareness,
the more the business is gonna sort of rise. So the public is a great, I mean, first of all, it doesn't hurt to, you know, there's no difference when you send that newsletter out to 200 people or 2 million people. It doesn't hurt anymore, except for entering the addresses. And on the other hand, people are where businesses come from. And when we're sort of like convincing people that Goffstown is a great place for businesses, that's how we do it, through the newsletter and through the stuff that we volunteer to do, you know. So yeah, certainly our target audience are the organized businesses, but our secondary target audience are the people who are considering businesses, because we want them to start businesses right here in our town.
We also want to create awareness for other people coming through as well, especially just thinking about the business directory. If part of the idea there is it's useful for people in town to have as a resource to look up different businesses to
Buy
shop
hammers and things
locally,
like that, yeah.
then, you know, to let them know, it's a way of letting them know it's out there and who we are, and I think that has value too. So I agree with you.
In jumping on what you're saying, I love this idea. This is the one event you have yearly where you have everybody there.
You have a captured audience.
You have a captured audience, and I like the idea that it's not just business, also you're talking consumers, which tells me you kind of have and these packets don't have to be anything fancy. One's gonna be maybe something such as some of the benefits of doing business in town, others can just be accessed for consumers of what is available in town, is that, if I'm hearing you
Yeah,
correctly?
absolutely.
The two packets,
And
yeah.
I love the idea of a reason to come to the booth, and I'm there with you. I'm gonna ask the question, there is a budget here, correct?
Yes.
And what is that budget?
Next year, the EDC has requested $4,000.
Is there anything in this year's?
In this year's?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
left?
there is some left. There's about 1,200, I believe.
Then, let me ask the next question. We would have to purchase these, if we were going to products within this budget this year.
Yeah.
So we would have to make decisions tonight, because the next time we meet, the year will be
Year.
over, correct?
Yes,
And the funding's gone.
yes.
Okay. I'm just throwing that one part out.
Thank goodness we have a selectman here. He knows these things.
And mind you, I'm not for one for spending as a selectman for this money, but, you know, if there's value in this, you have to do what is necessary. And I agree with the packet piece. I don't think it should be two people sitting in a corner room. I mean, I can see the original being organized, but if we need some, you know, to go out there and have it printed, we have it printed. If we need to pick up the, you know, yeah, it doesn't have to be a iPod. Maybe it's some other different things that you have, you know, different items that will go. I'm not saying, you know, it's a great thought. I'm just saying, but we got to make that decision tonight. And I'm fine with it.
And you know, when you look at that, it's not only spending money on an item like that, because it does create excitement with a raffle. And getting back to both your points, with the packet, you can almost have two. That consumer one, where we put specific items like the newsletter, the business directory, maybe an example of, here's how you get to this area on the website. Some educational stuff that when they go home, oh, that's how you do it. That's where I go. When they can go find the EDC and that information on the website. And then you have the business piece. But it's an investment. We're not just spending money on something. It's an investment. It's an investment in these businesses. I'm gonna tell you, if I owned a business and you knew this group was doing a raffle to help get more people in there and help energize them, I'd be excited. It's great. You're on my side. I think it's a great idea.
And we could do a budget for the printing too. I mean, if we're gonna put a print up, unless you guys have some resource in town where you can print, you know, 1,000.
No, we can't print 1,000 or do them.
Well, we're kind of caught up in the matter of that it's our last meeting before the budget cycle ends. Is that fair?
Yes.
And I'm gonna rest on your knowledge here. But we could go forward with an idea of an allotment up into a dollar figure for this. Could we do that?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you had to put a guess on something like this, or an estimation, I should say, not a guess.
For like a trifold pamphlet?
Yeah. Anybody?
Do you have any, what do you have now? Does the town have folders? I mean, are we talking creating everything from scratch, or?
We do have some folders that were purchased about 5 years ago, that have, and we've got plenty of those, and we have.
Specific to the EDC, or is it?
It's more designed around to sell the livability of Goffstown. So it's got some hand-drawn sketches of the village, the mountains, people playing baseball, those kind of things. But it was done as an economic development. So.
Does it seem dated now that it's been 5 years, or would it be applicable?
No, I don't think it seems dated, but to actually put, you know, high quality, something to print, to actually put in there, I would suggest against running it off our machines here. You'd want to probably put it on a little bit nicer stock to go into it. But I think the folders we have now are quite usable.
And are you suggesting that we have someone design it, or do you got, I don't know, does the town have someone that designs the stuff in-house?
No, we have all the templates. It's working with, you know, Charlie to maybe update them a little bit and
And bring it to a printer.
bring it to a printer and have it.
Where I was, in other words, I can, you know, I'm gonna value, you know, Charlie and Derek's, you know, idea of what that packet should be. But I'm saying, you know, I'm prepared to say if, you know, after that, I believe it should go to the printer, and we're not printing off copies on a
Yeah,
printer over
exactly.
here. That's what, in other words, if you're trying to go forward, going beyond a handful of people sitting here, once a month, and you're trying to bring awareness, et cetera, yeah, you have to have a quality product that you're putting out for people awareness. I think he has a great hook. I think the idea of, you know, at the, you know, a raffle, whatever, I'm not sure if, you know, how you wanna do it, but that's a good hook, bringing in, but people to have some awareness to it. I think it's, I mean, you know, I would say if you guys wanna go forward with something like that, I think it's a great idea. But you gotta take that vote, and we gotta get an idea of what we're gonna do. I mean, and that's the struggles of meeting once a month, but
This is the month.
this is the month.
Cool.
All right.
So what do we think the cost is? And which, I agree that we should put, not to exceed type number out there, right?
Yeah.
1,000 would be about $280. 1,500 would be about $350, and 2,000 would be about $400 on the place that I usually make my pamphlets.
All right, can I have those numbers again?
Sure, man.
All right.
1,000 would be about $285.
Okay,
1,500 would be about $340. 2,000 would be about $400. 2,500 would be about $230. Oh, sorry, $430. And 5,000 would be about $550.
Well,
10,000 would be about 1,000.
we can stop at 5,000.
Now, what is that? Is that a colored both front and back? Or
Yeah, it's a trifold pamphlet, which is what I'm picturing.
Going in
Right.
the folder, though? A trifold going in the folder, or could we just have single-page sheets going in the folder?
I think a single-page sheet would be considerably cheaper
As
because
a
they have to put
trifold.
it through a folding machine.
Because,
Right.
sheet as a
Oh, a
Because-
single sheet, like a two-sided single sheet, you're thinking?
Yeah, a two-sided single sheet folded 3 times. A trifold.
Okay, yes.
Sure. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it is. It's one
Exactly,
piece
I
of
agree,
paper.
that's what we,
Heavy, glossy.
I think
It's not
anything more than
cardstock.
that, people are not gonna, I think that's the most effective
Fair
thing
enough.
to get
Alright.
people to look
I've
at.
used postcards lots of times in the past, but I've never done a handout thing. You know what I mean? I do postcards quarterly.
But there might be a
they work
couple
pretty
of these forms, like we might want to have a form that says, you know, fill out this information and email it to us. There's one piece of paper. And this one's about, did you know, for the consumers, and then this one's about, did you know, for the businesses, and then
Great.
we go in these folders. Right? No?
Whatever you want, yeah, I think that's great, sure.
because we don't have to expend the money, but we have to have a contract, is that correct?
We could do a purchase order to.
We just have to have a purchase order, well, I say a
Purchase order
contract,
to
purchase
encumber
order.
that, yeah.
All right, so with that being said, he's talking 1,000, 1,500, and 4,000. And you start, and I'm looking at, you know, rough, 285, 340, 430. The question would be,
$500 or something,
yeah, the question would be, if you make, and we're talking about a flow of about 850, so one might say 1,000, but is this something that one would say, well, for the extra $60, this is a packet I can repeat, or do you would think that this be a different packet the following year?
No, I think this would be good for, for a while that we could use for this, but we could use probably throughout the year if there are other events, whether it's.
Throughout the year?
Throughout the year.
I wouldn't get much more than 1,000, though.
No, yeah, I agree. You said there, Marie, there was about 850 people.
Think so.
There was another about 200 businesses there. So you're talking, 1,500,
Sure.
So you
1,500 to 2,000.
Yeah, I would think 1,500 is probably a good number. Everybody's not gonna take one.
No. And there's couples in that 800, for sure,
Yep.
you know.
So where's the motion?
I move that we set aside a budget so that we can have some pamphlets printed up. Second.
You have
Do
to
we
be a
need a
little-
dollar
we have to be,
amount?
we need a little more
Up to.
specific, up to,
Excuse me, up to $600, including production costs, printing, and shipping.
What about a door prize?
that'll be
Can we
another,
move-
That would be
second-
another one?
we'll
second
keep them
motion, sure.
separate, sure.
Okay.
And, so we're giving, because we were just giving some roundabout dollar figures.
Sure.
But in that motion I'm stopping you while you're doing your motion, I don't know if I should be doing that, shouldn't we should be figuring out how many on the packet, do we need that in the motion?
I would say for printing promotional materials.
Okay, good,
And, I think we have an understanding of about how many we want to get.
all right, good.
So what was that, for $650? Is that what we?
For $650, we could get, if we wanted 2,000 and still have about $200 left. The shipping isn't usually bad on these, however, I think a little extra room for surprises. I mean, it's better to ask for a little bit more and then not use it, I think, right?
Agreed.
If we don't ever use it, cool. If we use $400 or $500, and Charlie, I can show you around how to use this and do this. It's all online. It's crazy easy, and get it done. Piece of cake. Good put together whatever you want. Called VistaPrint. It's really easy.
So I guess we better start it over because I interrupted you during your motion. I
Yeah, are we waiting
apologize.
for a second, or?
Yeah, I think we're waiting for a second. I think we're clear on Brian's motion.
Second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then,
Everybody.
yes.
That'll be, you want to do giveaways or raffles or something is the next question, correct?
Want to talk about that first? What is this an appropriate time to talk about?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we should, just talk a little bit about like a door prizey, fun, sizzly sort of thing. If anybody has some ideas, I threw iPod out there. If somebody has a better idea, or a similar, or whatever, throw it out there. What do you guys think? I have a vision of maybe, let's say we get like a really sweet iPod and a Nano or something like that, two kind of colorful ones, and we'll take pictures of them and we can include them on the pamphlet. And then we could maybe get a couple pictures blown up of them, to set them outside the door or something. And just tell people about it, you know what I mean? iPods are cool because people like them, they're thinking about them, and they're colorful, something very nice about them.
So can we just get a dollar amount on this also and leave it up to
Spend up to.
Up to.
type
Up
thing?
to,
So
yeah.
for whatever is
I don't know.
purchased?
It's a long time.
I mean, because what that does, it gives us time
Yeah,
between
Right.
now and March.
The
You
cu-
fall,
the cushion is there.
right, I suggest,
I don't know if I'd put that on the brochure, because if we get a certain quantity,
right,
we're gonna use them after,
yeah.
and then it's after the fact.
Mhm.
I like the idea of maybe having it blown up on foam core, posters throughout the expo, and do the drawing there. And I'm assuming the drawing could involve anyone that's a consumer or a business owner, is that
Right,
correct?
anybody who's
Yep.
in.
Anybody who comes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, anybody who
I
puts
just
their name
think
in.
it
Oh, yeah.
it raises the excitement level a little bit too.
And we get more names out of it.
Exactly.
We don't want people thinking they shouldn't put their name in there. Quite to the contrary. I mean, we get, this is how we pay for all those names.
Right.
People pay big bucks for lists.
I mean, obviously,
We're
we'd have to
paying
make
$400. That's nothing.
some
you know
kind of
what I
a
mean?
ticket type or have a number or whatever it may be. They fill out, it's in a drawing, we have a big bowl, we do the drawing right there, and the winner's announced right there at the show versus later. I think that
Mhm.
creates excitement also.
Did other businesses do drawings?
Yeah, there's
last year?
there's raffles throughout the day.
Throughout the day?
Yep.
There's a microphone and all that stuff, so you can talk
There
about
is.
who you are and.
Yep.
so one would say, one would do this, I don't want to say throughout the day, but at least have several drawings. Is that what you're thinking?
You know-
Is that what we're saying, or?
Well, others have drawings, you're saying.
Others have drawings, I think.
Well, you don't want to wait
We
till
have a
they all
drawing
do.
too, I mean, it just.
Yeah, you don't want to wait to the end, especially because we're encouraging businesses
Okay.
to sign up and update their information.
You know what would be interesting too, I don't know if it's too tacky, but, door prizes could be gift certificates to local businesses.
Sure.
You want to know
that-
something? That's not a bad
That
idea.
way you're supporting.
You're
the
supposed to
local
be promoting local
businesses.
business. That is not,
Not a bad
that is
idea.
not a bad idea. It could be
And then you
certificates.
could do a bunch of them, if you could
The only-
do
the only thing-
5 of them.
The only thing I would say to that, though, is supporting, which ones you,
Right,
which
that's
ones
right.
you select.
That's where it
That's
gets
the only
sticky.
problem you run into a little
Randomly
bit.
picked from our business directory.
So I don't know, but it's a good idea, but anyway, we could
Just
just,
pick a dollar amount and.
I do think an iPod is probably a pretty good item.
Oh, yeah.
It is a good
Most
idea.
people.
iPod and
It's gonna
iPad.
get
like
your
to have
attention
one of
when you
those.
see it, and they're gonna be saying, I'm signing up for that.
Yeah.
Totally. iPads are pretty sweet too. We can get an iPad for about $450, and we can get an iPod Touch for about $200. Right. Well, I mean, from
no, I just.
like from my gut, if it was up to me, I'd probably get like because the iPods are fine. Just get a really sweet iPod, and then maybe 2 little Nanos, those little colorful ones. Just because it's there's a consolation prize too. Everybody stays around, and everybody 3 people win instead of 1 person wins.
What do those cost?
It's like a-
Like $40. You know what I mean?
The Nanos are?
Yeah, the Nanos are $40. $39.99.
That's what they used to call a shuffle.
Could buy a couple brand new
The
ones.
little one?
Yeah, that's right. The Nanos. That's right. Or actually, I think this is a shuffle I'm looking at. I think you're right, Charlie.
I think the Nano's a little bigger and the Shuffle's.
iPod Shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah.
$39.50 with free shipping.
I have
So-
one and it's great.
So $80, 2 of those for $80 with free shipping, then another $200 for the iPod. Boom, we're into it for $280. Call it $300.
Hmm.
I'm gonna follow that one on our assistant. Assistant Town Administrator. What do you think, sir?
I think, I don't think it's that, I think it's a good idea. It's something we haven't done before, and I think
It is
it's,
something
I
new.
think it's, I think we need to try and stuff and kind of spice it up a little bit. so.
Creative idea.
I'd like to make a motion
Alright.
to appropriate $300,
Up
to
to.
$300 for our door prizes.
Alright.
I don't think we need to specify what they are at this point, right?
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I've been working with Mary Ann McKenna with the Lions Club, so we can get the information on the Business Expo out. So we'll continue to work with her. She's already agreed that we'd have a booth there. I'll talk to her about getting one for other resources, whether it's Gary or somebody, to see if we can get them a space there as well.
Do you think somebody could ask, I know John, the guy that owns Uptown Auto, John Heichel. Yeah, I know he has that sign. Does he still have that sign out front?
Oh, yeah,
He
he
sometimes
does.
puts announcements on. He might be willing to put an announcement on the, on that for us.
Well, the town has one, and the town has used it in the past.
We could call her.
Anything else in the Business Expo? All right. Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission is starting a broadband mapping and planning program, basically a committee to start. They're looking for, the Board of Selectmen is looking for volunteers. And really, the purpose of this is to share information between public and private sectors regarding use and demand for broadband services, and to further broadband service in the Southern New Hampshire planning region, which is Goffstown, Ware, Bedford, Manchester, Londonderry. So I'm just mentioning that now. If anyone is interested, the commitment would be 2 or 3 times a year starting in January. And their meetings are usually during the day. And there's a sign up if you go right to the homepage, to the Goffstown homepage. You can sign up for that. And then the Metro Center, which is the partnership between the Manchester Chamber of Commerce and Southern New Hampshire Planning, which Tony Martz talked about at the last meeting, to do certified sites programs and promote more of a regional marketing of the area. That is going to kind of die down a little bit. That's going to pick up again in February. So as soon as I get that invitation in, I'll let you know about that. And if anyone's interested in participating in those meetings, we'll need probably some volunteers for that as well.
The broadband thing, is that big picture stuff, small picture stuff? I'm not exactly sure what
Yeah,
they.
I'm not clear on that either.
I can, you can look at this if you'd like.
Okay.
I think it's more in big picture infrastructure, trying to promote the continuing the infrastructure throughout the region. But you might be able to glean a little bit more out of this.
Okay.
So, and then I don't know if anyone has any other business. And then Steve, if you could maybe touch on social media and what the selectmen are doing with that.
Yeah, I think like everything else, what's small and simple usually takes longer. But essentially, we were talking about it again on Monday, and everyone's concerned about, would people be able to post and what policies and procedures we'd have in place, et cetera. So finally, towards the end of the discussion of that, yes, on Monday, we were just gonna, the town administrator was asked to check with the local LGC. Other towns must already have policies, procedures in place. So once we have the policy and procedure in place, then we can start going forward with it. And so we don't expect that to take that long, we hope. In other words, we're hoping that there'll just be, I don't wanna say a standardized process and procedure, but something that, a template we can work from. And so, once that's in place, cause, honestly, I'm a big one for just saying, let's just get this going regarding, especially, get it going, cause it's been much too long, so, but, we're gonna be waiting till we hear policies, procedures, and, we'll get that in. Alright,
Is there any other business?
yes, can you get me 5 of these?
I can.
Thank you.
I'll give you guys an update on the TV show. We taped, Charlie and I taped, along with Tammy over at the Bag Lunch, probably 2 hours worth of stuff. I have some software, some editing software, that I've been working with the people at GTV with, and, editing, people do this for a living. And, editing is, something that, it's, you know, people do it for a living. You know what I mean? And jumping right into it is a little bit tricky, but I've been working really hard on it, and I think we're getting someplace. And I was hoping to have something maybe done before Christmas. And I'll try really hard to get it done before Christmas, because Charlie was great and Tammy was really great, and hopefully we can have something really cool done soon. But once I get the hang of this editing thing, I'm sure we'll be rocking and rolling, and then we'll get on to the next one, and hopefully the next one too.
Great.
Cool. Were you able to use any of my footage? Can you pull that in, or is it not compatible?
Your footage was excellent. That stuff you gave me on the disc, from Goffstown, was it the pumpkin that day we were outside?
I don't even
Was it the
remember.
pumpkin
Yeah,
regatta?
it
it was
was.
the pumpkin regatta.
Yeah.
I don't think that really fits into, because first of all, she's over in Pinardville, and, but it will.
But you can use it.
Absolutely,
That's what. Okay,
yeah.
so that's good. So I
I
can.
think eventually I'm gonna have this giant bin of all kinds of cool photographs, and among those is gonna be yours, in film and stuff, and, we'll get there, man. I mean, I hope, I think.
We had some fun doing it too. I mean, I know she did too, and we really learned a lot about her business, so.
Love Bag Lunch.
Looking forward to doing more.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.